What would it profit? Ooh, profit a man to gain this world, lose his soul. No, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. Yeah.
The fire is lit, here come the smoke. Bishop brother is on, here come the hope. On the real, oh yeah, this on the real. With Bishop brother, no they never quick to judge it. Plenty covered, yeah they talk about issues from their view. And they welcome all, they're not defined by their hue. Oh no, they're just speaking of their truth. Be sure to like and subscribe and tune in, you see the fire in their eyes.
All right, we're back again.
Back again, you stuck with us.
As you can see, now we got the new logo.
What do they call this now? Drip? Is that what the kids are calling it?
That's right.
You would know.
We lit.
We're lit. Okay,
yeah, we lit.
Or we got Riz, I think is what they're saying now.
That's right.
That's right. So yeah, we got the new drip, if you will.
That's right.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to us. If you're listening to us on the podcast, you can't see the drip, but we got really cool shirts. If you're listening to us on YouTube, you can actually see the drip. We really appreciate it. Whether you're listening on the podcast or the YouTube, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, and give us that 5-star rating if you would, and leave a comment. I don't know why, but that actually matters.
Yeah.
You can just tell us what your favorite brisket recipe is. I'll take all of that because I love cooking some brisket. So yeah, it's good to be back though.
You might see this maybe a week later or a couple of weeks later. The Olympics, it's Olympic season right now. We're like, this is like the midday Olympics, and we're in Olympic fever. So we want to have some fun with this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, just lower the temperature, lower the gauge.
Come out of politics for a second.
Politics. Well, it's.
I mean, we're gonna go back.
It's
There's no escape.
It's the Olympics because what I've learned. I've learned everything is politics, and that's not bad because politics is like who we are, but we don't. We try to bring perspective of let's lower the temperatures because we can't even enjoy. I'm sitting there enjoying the opening ceremony, and I'm like, a controversy break out. I mean, so you can't avoid this. You can't. So we're gonna have some fun with it.
We are.
So we're gonna have some fun with it.
Yeah.
So,
and
man.
At the time of this recording, Ireland has 2 gold medals right now.
Wow, yeah.
So it's a big win for those of us of descent.
And the nation of St. Lucia won their first medal ever.
That's amazing.
She beat our runner, and then I was happy for that nation. I've been there many times on cruises, so they excited about that. So that's
And also, did you see it was a very touching moment where North Korean and South Korean athletes took a selfie together.
Yeah,
like that's what it's all about.
Right, human to human.
I mean, we're gonna talk about some things where people just want nothing but division, but to me, that encompasses the Olympiad, the spirit of the Olympics, right? This idea that, I mean, those 2 countries don't talk to each other; they're not friends.
No.
But they can come together for a selfie on a common human cause. They both made the podium, and they're taking selfies together. I thought that was beautiful.
Before we get to the topic, a couple of them in there, but before we get to the topic, that was the purpose of the Olympics, to bring nations together, to bring, without going to war, believe that, to have some sports, some athletic. That's why really this is supposed to be amateur athletes just coming together, but the greater purpose was to bring nations together to just have some good friendly competition and win some medals, but obviously it's more than that. But it's I was really I'm excited every 4 years, and next 28 is going to be here in the United States, and so that's good. But it just to frame this. So last week, August 27th.
Paint a picture for
us. Infamy. Sitting there watching Olympic games, and so not in my mind, but the so-called controversy broke out when people dressed in drags did a depiction of the Lord's Supper, and then the internet broke. Then our lives ended as we knew it.
It was all over.
The internet broke, and
waiting for Jesus to come back.
I'm watching it live and then think nothing of it. And then of course, if you go to TikTok, Twitter, any social media, it just exploded. So people got offended, and they wanted a national cry of Christian demanding that the president needs to demand that a sovereign nation, France, apologize to Christians as if they're. I guess no Christian, and you've been there, and I've been there.
Yeah.
It's no Christian in France, right?
Nope, not in Europe. Can't find them.
That the Olympic ceremony, has just demeaned, sidelined, disrespected Christians from around the world. This was the greatest.
And they had to use the word, right?
Yeah.
They had to use the word.
Yeah.
The Olympics went woke. That was
the Olympics went woke. So we're gonna get into that today. We're laughing because we understand that this has nothing to do with what people are saying this had to do with.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So that's the frame of this first segment. I'll let Bishop John start up. But I'm looking at it, and what I will say when I looked at it, I like, okay, whatever. Let's keep it moving. But
exactly.
Hey, the internet broke, so my phone broke, and so I had to put it back together.
It was all
Why my phone broke?
It just shattered. Yeah, everything just broke down. I think so. For me, I forgot that the opening ceremonies were on.
Yeah.
I just got off work and I kind of had to do some work overnight, so I just wasn't really thinking about it. And I was just going through the tiki-takis, like I say. Every night I go through TikTok and I look for things to do for content and stuff like that. And this photo of this blue baby guy on a platter kept coming up, right? I'm like, what is this? Never even seen this in my life before. And then I finally got to this one TikTok where this person was like, the Olympics have gone woke. And I was like, oh, well, that now has my attention, right? So I'm looking at this thing, and it's like they used drag queens to portray the Last Supper, and it was grossly offensive to Christians everywhere. And I'm looking at this still that they did, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I saw another creator that put up Da Vinci's painting of the Last Supper, his rendition of the Last Supper, which is comical. We'll get into it, with this picture. And so now I'm looking at both of them, and I'm like, okay, the only similarity that I see personally is they're all on one side of the table. Like, that's the only thing I see that is exactly the same. And this is, this speaks to a lot of deeper issues, but like the first issue this speaks to is this issue of inerrancy, this idea that there can be no error. There's no errors in Scripture. There's certainly no errors in depictions of Christ, right? It's like they've imprinted inerrancy onto this painting Da Vinci did. Well, this may come as a shock to you out there, but I guarantee you they didn't have 12 people on one side of a table during this quote unquote Last Supper. Which, by the way, that's not what it was called at the Last Supper, because they didn't know it was going to be the Last Supper. Right? So I'm looking at these two, and I'm like, how are they getting this? Like, what is happening? And so it's because I think it depicts Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. Here's the problem with that. And this goes into, we've become, especially our older generations, I hate to say it because I'm starting to become part of an older generation, right? But as older generations, we don't do our homework. We don't look for the facts. We don't dragnet it anymore. Just the facts, ma'am. You remember that? Y'all probably don't remember that. But I remember Dragnet. But it was Nick at Night for me. I don't know where it was for you. But it was on Nick at Night for me. That's where I met Dragnet. But the issue is, we're not interested in facts.
No.
Right? We're interested in being offended. We're interested in I don't know if this has always been a thing. You'd probably have to speak on this a little more just because you've been around a little longer. But it just seems like, especially within, I'm just going to say it, especially within white Christian circles, white evangelical Christian circles, we have this nasty habit of having to be the victim. It's like we've been victimizing people for so long.
We need it.
We now need to be the victim so somebody will feel sorry for us, right? And so I think that's where this came from, a place of, I now need to be the victim. I now need to be the one that's offended and hurt, and something has hurt me too, right? And when in reality, let's just look at some historical facts. Historical fact number one. Those two paintings, the painting and the depiction from the Olympics is not the same. We've already heard from the person who wrote the script that was not their intention to do anything with Jesus. It's actually a depiction of a different painting called the Feast of the Gods. And if you've ever seen that painting, I highly recommend you go look at it. Please get your facts together before you make an opinion. The Feast of the Gods, if you put the Feast of the Gods up and you put the same depiction, it looks exactly the same. It is very clear that that's where this depiction comes from. It's got the blue baby and everything, you know what I mean? And the whole point, according to the people that wrote the script, the whole point of this was to talk about the ridiculousness of bigotry and racism and all these kinds of different things. All they were doing was making that, which I'm okay with. I don't have an issue with that idea, right? But the Christians decided on their own, without any factual checking, that this was a direct shot at them, and now they need to be offended. And for me, that is absolutely ridiculous. I'm laughing because it's funny. It is funny that you are that stupid and that easily duped by people that you would even think that this was a depiction of the Last Supper. Which, by the way, I just want to point this out, and then I want to get your take. That picture of the Last Supper is not an accurate depiction of the Last Supper.
Right.
I hate to tell you this, people, but there were no white people at that table. I'm sorry. I know you've probably been taught that your whole life. You've had a picture of white Jesus in your churches your whole life. And I know this might hurt to hear. There were no white people there. Right. And so the depiction is already wrong. So even if they were making fun of the depiction, they're making fun of a fictitious depiction. But you just need to be offended.
You know, my thing is this notion that these people are portraying this as they need to defend Jesus. They need to defend Christianity. That is such a false notion because it has nothing to do with Christianity. Your expression of things, how you express things, how you relate that expression, whether it's on paper, whether it's in writing a thesis or writing the paper, or artistic expression or talking, your expression of something doesn't make it factual to Christianity, or it doesn't offend God.
Right.
But we can talk about the things that offend Christ. What offends Christ is the same people who are offended living way across the water, watching something on TV of something that somebody did, get offended, and then they want to rile people up to get offended by, are the same people that has expression when you express it. And see, these people want to be able to define what Christianity is based on what somebody is doing. And they want to kill any type of expression of it. But the question is, this is dangerous because where does it stop and where does it start? Because how I express my relationship with God might not be how you express your relationship with God. Yeah. But this was not a religious service. It was the opening, it was the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. There was all kind of things going on. There was hundreds of countries there. There was all this stuff going on. It was not a church. All weren't Christians? It was not a church service. Weird. It was not a theological event. It is an athletic event. Is an event where people from countries across the world come together to watch this, to compete in games, basketball, track and field, gymnastics, whatever. And so the notion that this one 30-second thing offended Christians, no, you know what should offend Christians? What should offend Christians is the fact that in the United States of America, and probably France too, there's millions and millions of people that are hungry, and we can do something about it. What should offend people is the homelessness crisis we have across the United States, probably France too, and the world. What should offend people is what truly offends Jesus. If you want to talk about offense, this is what I've been wanting to say for a long time. Let's talk about what truly offends God and Jesus. I can tell you because it's written. It's written. We had a Sunday school lesson today, and we looked at the letter of Thessalonians, how Paul wrote back to Thessalonians about things going on. And the amazing thing about it is they said when he wrote the letter that other people read the written letters that he had wrote to the church. See, that's our problem. We can't read past a text. We can't listen past a TikTok 30-second video. If we read for ourselves the Word of God, like Bishop John is trying to show you and tell you, this has nothing to do with the Last Supper, has nothing to do with right. No matter what color skin was there, he was there for humanity's sake. Had nothing to do with defending God. Jesus wasn't upset because something happens. what he is upset about is how we don't do nothing about the least of these among us. That's what it's, and we just bypass that. The same people are saying this is offensive Christianity will walk about a homeless, smelly person and throw up their nose and keep going.
Yeah.
In Jesus' name.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Look at the word of God. That's what offends God. So my point on this here, you saying that a 30-second, whatever it was, whether it was Last Supper or Feast Supper, offended God. See, as we said in our first show, here, and I'll let you, here's what people have to do. Here's what I found, Bishop, in my life, the people have to do, I used to have to do. See, I have to put God in it because I want to be the victim, but I really want God to be the victim. See, I want to this is offensive to Jesus. No,
I see that.
No. God's offended by this. We can show you a host of other things. Ask Pharaoh what God is offended by.
Yeah.
Ask Moses.
There you go.
Matter of fact, ask the beloved David what God is offended by. You're the man that had that man killed because you wanted to have his wife.
There it is.
Your lust that led you to murder offended me. So we can show you over and over. Ask Job what God's offended. Job, go preach to Nineveh. No, I want to preach to those folks.
Ask Cain.
Ask Cain. So we can show you what God's offended by. It's nowhere in Scripture that I read, that God and Jesus is offended by Jesus walked the earth. There was nothing offensive. You never see him talking about, oh, look at that picture. Look at this. I'm offended by it. It's just that we want to be victims.
Yeah.
And so, but see, we can't be victims on our own because we can't defend ourselves. We got to say, this is offense against Christianity. This is offense against God.
Yeah.
This is you offend him. So because we have to have justification.
Yeah.
And that's why we have no credibility because, and I close with this, my expression is my choice. It goes back to this where I see we got with Trouble Cabinet. We don't like the expression, so let's dehumanize, let's otherize, let's kick them out because we don't like the expression. Now they're doing it peacefully. They're not hurting nobody. They're not shooting anybody, but because we don't like the expression.
Right.
Just same way with Cabinet. With me, you probably don't know.
No.
I probably wouldn't have that picture, but their expression is their expression.
Right.
And then so I'm supposed to kick him out. I'm gonna kick him out of God's. You're gone because I like your expression. Their expression can deal with God. See, that's what I'm saying. What gets us in trouble goes back to be careful when you try to use somebody's expression to try to say God is hating them just because you do.
Right. There it is.
That's the issue.
That's the problem.
See, I hate him out, and look, God is on our side because God wouldn't go for that. Man, I'm telling you something. There's a lot of things in my life. I look at my suburban life that God, He's working on me. I'm under construction.
Yeah.
That God don't like.
Yeah.
Thank God He don't do me like these people.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the biggest problem I have with this whole I need to be a victim is I think it's exactly what you said is if I'm the victim, I'm the bad guy. But
Right.
if I but God said
Can't make God bad.
right,
Yeah,
because God's perfect, right?
Nobody can make it. Yeah.
So and I'm not saying God's not perfect. What I'm saying is, if I can get God on my side
Then-
because God's perfect, that means I'm perfect. It means my theology is okay now.
Erase my imperfections because I'm standing up for God.
Right. Yeah. Y'all won't shut up about this blue baby on the table,
Right.
but y'all don't care about babies on welfare. I mean, I read your Project 2025.
Yeah.
Like I know what you want to do. You want to
Yeah.
cut WIC. You want to cut school lunch.
Yeah.
You want to defund the Department of Education. You don't care about kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about babies.
No.
You say you're pro-life.
Yes.
But you're not.
Yes.
You're anti-abortion.
You want to be in exam rooms.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. You want your 10 Commandments in my classroom.
Yeah. But a 30-second. How did that affect your life? Whose life did that affect?
Nobody's. Nobody.
But
actually, you know who it affected?
Yeah.
That person, the creator,
Yeah.
had to get on TV and apologize for something they didn't do.
Yeah.
That's who it affected.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were saying, like no one's actually flinging bullets and no one's actually dying. The problem is though, there is such a thing now as social death.
Yeah.
Right? There's such a thing as having a social media death.
Yeah.
This person may struggle to find work now because of something you made up.
Right.
Because you just had to be offended by something that doesn't concern you.
Right.
Furthermore, I don't like when you say things like, Christians are offended with the capital C.
Right.
You don't know me.
Right.
You don't know if I'm offended by that or not. You have no idea how I feel about that.
Right.
Are Celtic Christians offended?
Right.
Are African American Christians offended? Here's my problem with saying that. What you're saying by you saying that, what you're actually saying is, what really should be said is certain evangelical white Christian nationalists are offended by this. That's narrow. Right. A certain group. But you can't say that.
Right.
Because now it's just a small group of Christians, not the capital C church, and then God can't be involved because, But the problem is that's not what they put on the headline. The headline is all Christians. So now you have summarily decided for me as a follower of Jesus how I'm going to feel about this 30-second montage. Which, to be frank, no offense to the people who created it, I don't care about. It's just a piece of art to me. That doesn't offend me at all. Right. I've seen paintings of naked women. Right. That doesn't offend. I'm not offended. Right. Right. I'm indifferent. I don't. Right. It's a great. Clearly, somebody knew what they were doing when they painted. Right. Okay. Good for them. Right. My struggle is when you start to decide for me what the chords of behavior are within my Christianity. Right. The problem with that type of belief and like overrunning of my individual belief. I mean, we can take this to the micro level. The difference between you and me, right? I guarantee you probably don't burn incense in your office when you pray. I do. Does that mean that you're less of a Christian than me because you don't use incense? No. That means you pray differently than I pray. Right. And that's okay. Right? But what you're saying when you make a broad, encompassing statement like this is that we're all the same. And we are not. Every tribe, I don't know, I read Revelation, every tribe, every nation. I know y'all are hooked on this, like, go meeting Jesus in the air and get into heaven so you don't got to deal with the nasty people here. But what I read in there is it's going to be every tribe, every nation. We're not stripped of our cultures when we become Christians. Right. Our cultures can enhance our belief in God. Some of the things that I've carried in from my culture, I use in my prayer practices. I do things that you would not do. You do things I would not do. Right. That doesn't mean either of us is greater than or lesser than, but to me what happens when you put that capital C in that title, Christians are offended, what you're saying is the white evangelical nationalist stance is the only acceptable stance, and that's where I have a problem.
We don't get to define what offends God based on some expression that we don't like. God doesn't need our help or advice or consent or he doesn't need that. Right. The issue is you want me to be offended because you want me to define things the way you want me to define things. Right. But when the same people that get offended by that has no offense when you put up a picture of a white, blonde, blue-eyed Jesus.
With the thin lips and the ultra perm.
You don't think that would be offensive? Now let's get rid to my ancestors. Yeah. Because that Jesus
like a slave owner?
Yes.
Great. That's great. Love that.
So we don't want y'all really want to go around offensive. So we define who we decide. The president needs to apologize. The president of the United States, no matter who it is, forget all his art, no matter who it is, has no jurisdiction over France. Believe it or not, we don't have jurisdiction over the world.
That's hard for people to believe. That's a hard.
But if it's about Christianity, why are you throwing the president? See, it's all about you want your agenda met, and your agenda is white nationalism. That white people decide who determines what Christianity is, not based on religion, but based on we know what's offensive. We know what's wrong. We know. And who are you, French people? Who are you, whoever decide to depict God? Not like we want to pick, but you have no problem with a white, blonde-eyed, blue-eyed Jesus that was in my grandmother's living room. Miss me with that. No, I'm not getting offended because you have no credibility.
There it is.
Based on historical record of what's offensive, depicting the offensive pictures. You have no credibility. What we say, sit down, take a seat, and we'll talk to you. And don't talk until we tell you to talk. Because when we talk about offense and depiction, we did Jesus and John Wayne. You have no credibility, America. White nationalist church, and I'm saying white, not against white people, because you created that. Right. Whiteness is created. Your people You want to see a picture? We can show you some pictures where when Frederick Douglass and O'Donnell was in America, how Frederick Douglass had to read pictures of seeing white, Irish dogs, just like black people.
Yeah.
So we don't want to talk about depiction. We don't want to pull back the curtain on this Christian. We don't want to pull back the curtain. You want a bad depiction? How about showing a little white girl by a tree with a hanging black man?
Yeah, like taking a selfie.
Sit down in a corner and have several seats. This was on church grounds.
Yeah.
So
you talk about being offended.
Yeah, Christianity, right? So we need to understand, like you beautifully saying, Christianity is not owned by the United States of America. It is a world Catholic. It's a world. He died, as you're saying, he died for the whole world. But this depiction had nothing to do with a church service or Christianity. It was Olympic Games. What are we doing?
Yeah.
But that's what we want. We want to rule the world.
Yeah, we do.
Using God
absolutely
as our justification.
Yep.
Nope.
And then the party continues, of course. But when we talk about this not getting all the facts before we open our mouth, it's the TikTok generation. And what's funny is TikTok, which was created for Gen Z, really, Gen Z doesn't seem to have this problem. They don't seem to have this problem of just jumping on whatever train. Like, they research. If they see something on TikTok, the next thing they're doing is they're going and researching. They're figuring out what happened, why. Let me look. What are the experts saying? Why are millennials, Gen X, boomers, like, we suck. Like, we're terrible at this. We just jump on a train. Whatever it is, Trump train, this train, whatever it is, whatever train it is, as long as it aligns with our identity politics and our power structure, we'll jump all over it. And that happened later in the Olympics with this young lady from Algeria. Okay, so I'll share the headline. The first headline that I read was transgender male beats up on woman in the Olympics. Okay, now when I read that, I was like, wow, that's terrible. And they let that happen? Like, wow. And then I did this thing that we apparently mine and your generation really struggles with. I did this thing called research.
Wow. I
went and looked up this lady. Turns out, now, and I'm seeing like, it is TikTok meme after TikTok meme of just bashing this lady, calling her a man, just saying some really harsh things. I do some research and I've come to find out this lady from Algeria was born a woman. This is not a transgender issue at all. Born a woman, has a genetic issue where her body produces an inordinate amount of testosterone for a woman. And so it gives her advantages, right, in women's sports. But this is not a man. This woman was born with a woman's chromosomes, has had no transition. She is a woman. Furthermore, you morons, maybe let's read the room a little bit. She's from Algeria, a Muslim republic. This is an Islamic, almost caliphate. Not only is it illegal to be transgender, attempting to transition will cost you your life. They'll kill you for that. They will stone you in Algeria. I don't know if they'll actually stone you, but they would. It is punishable by death. So my first thing is, like, how did she become an Olympic athlete for the nation of Algeria if she was a natural born male that transitioned into female? How is she not dead? So that's number one. Like, please do some homework. Number two, now this woman has been called a man all over the internet. Like, you have socially murdered this woman. And she now has to go back to the Islamic Republic of Algeria, a place that is not friendly to that type of behavior at all, and live there. Do you think the people in Algeria, you think they're not hearing about this?
Right.
You've now put her in danger in her home country because you couldn't be bothered to just take... It took me... Like, I didn't even use Google, Bishop. I used Bing. And everybody knows Bing is trash. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Microsoft. I know we probably lost that sponsorship. But it is mind-numbingly frustrating. Because this is the same camp. I'm sorry, this is the same camp. The same people who didn't do the homework on the opening ceremonies are the same people who have now put this woman's life at risk. By the way, this woman has 9 losses. Women have beat her. It's not like she's undefeated and she looks like Mike Tyson and she's just wrecking shop. That's not this. But and I'm not. You can feel how the purpose of this conversation is not about transgenderism or rights. That's not what I'm talking about here. My problem here is nobody did their homework, and you put somebody's life at risk, and you don't care. You can go back home, eat your cheese sandwich at your house. You know, it's not going to be a problem for you. No one's going to come to your door and stone you because they thought you were a man that became a woman. Right? You put this woman's life at risk. You've put her boxing career at risk. You've done all this stuff because you didn't do any homework.
Well, the deeper thing is the question that you're asking is what we has never been interested in, and that's where it's called truth. See, the lie get around the world for the truth to even wake up.
That's fact.
By the time the truth wakes up, the lies are, and it's too late for truth. Because we love our lies.
Yeah, we do.
We love the agenda. Trend is hated. It's a hated thing. It's hated. So guess what? If I put that out there, that's going to get around the world quick.
Yep.
And so we don't want the truth. They're not interested in truth. Truth does not sell. Truth don't matter. Truth is boring. Truth is late. Truth, they don't want truth. So whether they have their lives, even if it costs somebody their life, and this is how this stuff, they're more interested in their agenda. Yeah. You have people still saying with their, I watched this in my classroom with kids in shock. I was never forget this day, January 6th. I was just at my computer. It was the height of COVID, and it was very few kids in my class, and I had the news on, and I was newspaper something. And the kids yelled at me that day, Chief, look at the screen, because it's on the screen. And you see these people doing the camp, and people still say they were peaceful protests.
Police officers died.
So think of, so the trend is right. So we can't see nothing with that.
Right.
Look, my point is, when people are still parroting a lie on what everybody can see, let's talk about offense. The biggest way you can offend me is not debating. If you beat me in the debate, you beat me in the debate. If you better me this, the biggest way you defend me, Bishop, I'm serious, is telling me this paper is black and I see it's white. We're not gonna do this.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
now we can't even talk.
Right.
You might be you probably can tear me up in the debate, but we're not gonna argue about this is white. Right. I'm saying it's white and you telling me it's black.
Right.
See, I'm not. Yeah. I'm done. I'm just packing up. I'm going home because I don't play those type of games.
That's called gaslighting, by the way. For the people at home.
And that's called people will violate their own eyes, and this is why we're in trouble right now. You see something, and people saying you didn't see that. You didn't see that the woman had a pot, and this man shot her in the face. And here what I say about this. I'm retired military police. Let me tell you something. No law enforcement agency, none, teaches you, well, I want to clarify this, unless you're the sniper level. That's a whole different,
different scenario.
Yeah, a whole different thing. They just shoot together. But you're taught center mass.
That's fact. Center mass.
If you ever been to any firearm training, you don't see a head. You see center mass. Yeah. Center mass.
We would lose points.
It's no points. Yes. Matter of fact, yes. So, but you don't have an interest in the truth. And so my point is we're saying this woman now got to live with this because it doesn't matter right now what she is.
No one cares.
Because the lie has got people's mind. This is the power of propaganda. This is the power of the media because nobody wants to do what you said. Nobody wants to say, okay, you're saying that. Let me look up. Let me do a little research. Let me do a little work to see if the truth. That's what the Bible tells us to do. The Bible tells us, search the scriptures to see whether this person is telling you something. And this is why we got cults in the church.
Yep.
This is why we got cults in politics. This is why we got every aspect of life. We have cults. Don't just put on some of y'all going to a pastor because he's a cult. Because nothing he or she says you're going to even challenge.
That's fact.
Even if you read this, you'll find some way to get around it because you've been brainwashed to believe that it doesn't matter what you read. The research says I need to believe the words that I'm hearing, even though the audio don't match the video.
Right.
And that's what you get me. Mm-hmm. When the audio don't match the video, have several seats because I'm watching these people storm. I'm watching this happen, and you telling me that they wasn't trying to overthrow something. I'm watching the hanging things. It's on the screen. I'm seeing it. And this was I ain't talking about something.
With crosses.
I ain't talking about something in the 50s that they show me. And I'm talking about something I'm watching live and living color with kids who are in shock. And you telling me we didn't see what we see. See, this is why we have no credibility. This is why as an American, talking about our country that we love, that mean we can look at the camera and credibility and say we put our life on line stuff. This is why we have no credibility around the world. This is why nobody wants to listen to us because we lie. And then even when truth come out, we'll say, we'll do all this kind of stuff. People are still believing things were done, and they seen with their own eyes. So this woman here, back to her, God bless her soul because she has no video evidence. God bless her soul, man, because. Yeah. But blood on these people's hands because
it's terrible.
When they're interested in doing the work of the truth.
Yeah, and I've found when the audio doesn't match the video and you're still going to go with it, I've found the only reason a person does that is because whatever the mismatch is aligns with their identity politics and their power structuring. So the only reason you would not walk it back if you're wrong is because what is wrong is what you need to be in power, and that's a deeper problem.
And just go and admit. How can we admit that we hate people? I agree. I disagree with a lot of people on a lot of things, but I don't hate nobody. I can sit down and talk to anybody. I can sit down. My father was a Jehovah's Witness, and I've had the greatest conversation about religion with him that anybody ever had. Maybe not besides you at this point, but in my life. Yeah. We didn't argue. We talked. I've talked to Mormons. Gay people. I am not going to get caught up. My point in this here, I'm not going to hate this woman because the media is telling me I should hate her.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's what we do.
Yeah.
Well, we got to hate. She's this, she's that. No, you latching on the hate because you don't want to do the work.
Yeah. And
you want yourself to feel good, and then you put God in it and to say, this was Christian, you'll put God in it to say this here. What are we doing? Yeah. And we wonder why nobody wants to listen to us because we're lying. Yeah. And it's hateful and it's harmful. And like you saying, this person can get killed for this stuff.
Yeah. But you don't care. I mean,
no.
Pizza's hot and you got Sunday supper on and it's not my problem, right? Yeah. For me, I love the Olympics. I love watching the Olympics. I love watching the competition and the camaraderie. It's really sad that it gets darkened by power structuring and identity, and I think it's more infuriating to me when we use the cross and the cause of Christ to propagate it, and that's where that's why we got to speak out. That's why we got to say the things we do. So with that, again, thank you guys for listening in and watching. For those on YouTube, again, please don't forget, give us that like, that follow, subscribe. Give us a 5-star. Leave a comment for us. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you around.
On the real, oh yeah, this on the real. On the real, oh yeah, this on the real. You know the deal, oh yeah, you know